Hey everyone, it's Nurse Sarah, and in this video, I'm going to do a quick review over the key test concepts you want to know about the barrier types of contraceptives. And as always, whenever you get done watching this video, you can access a free quiz that will test you on this material. So let's get started. Barrier contraceptives act as a barrier, hence block sperm from being able to enter through the cervix and go and penetrate an egg. Whenever that happens, pregnancy occurs. In addition, these types of contraceptives do not alter hormones, so they're non-hormonal. Also, some of them can actually provide protection from STIs. So now let's take a quick look at the different types. There are two main types of condoms. You have the male and female condoms. Now, some general guidelines that you want to remember about these is that first up, there's no prescription that is needed. They provide pregnancy and STI protection. However, one thing I want to know about the STI protection is that the natural skin condoms do not provide that, which we'll talk a little bit about here in a moment. They're also for single use, so once you use them, you're done with them. You have to get a new one. You want to store them carefully, like in a cool, dry place, not in your car or in your pocket. Also, they expire, so always check the expiration date. In addition, you want to never use a male and female condom together, and they're hormone-free. So now let's look at these individually, with first being the male condom. How does it work? Well, it's a sheath that goes over the penis and blocks sperm from entering the vagina. It also helps protect against most STIs. Now, there's different materials that these condoms can be made out of. They can be made out of latex, polyurethane, or natural skin from animals. In addition, those natural skin type condoms, they do not provide STI protection. And the reason for this is because they have these itty bitty little holes where viruses or bacteria could go through, leading to a potential STI. However, those holes are small enough where sperm cannot go through, hence providing that pregnancy protection. And if there is a latex allergy, polyurethane condom types can be used. However, you want to remember if a latex condom is being used, oil-based lubricants cannot be used because it could break down the integrity of the condom. Instead, water-based lubricants could be used. Now let's talk about the things you need to remember for exams. First up is the application of the male condom. You want to make sure that the air is being pinched out of the tip of that condom and then it's being rolled down to the base of the penis. And then during withdrawal, it's important that the rim of the condom is held so the condom does not slip off or leak. Now let's talk about female condoms. How do they work? Well, they are typically a nitrile sheath that lines the vagina to prevent sperm from entering the cervix. Now, what are some key things to remember for exams? First up is application. So it's important that you squeeze that inner ring and then insert it into the vagina. And it can be inserted up to 8 hours before intercourse. And then with withdrawal, it's important that you twist that outer ring before actually pulling out. Doing this will help prevent leakage. How do spermicides work? Well, spermicides are made up of a chemical known as nonoxynol 9. And whenever this chemical comes into contact with sperm, it kills it. And this will prevent the sperm from being able to go up through the cervix into the uterus and join with the egg, which would make pregnancy. Now, what are some important things you want to remember about spermicides for exams? Well, first up, they come in different forms. You can have gels, foams, creams, films, suppositories, tablets, and sponges. And with the gels, the foams, and the creams, they tend to work immediately. However, it's important to stress to the patient that those film suppositories and tablets, they need time to melt, and that can take up to about 15 minutes. Now, spermicides must be reapplied with every sex act, and they tend to work and be effective for around 1 hour. Now, spermicides are typically not used all by themselves. It's best to use them along with a barrier method, like how we've talked about before with the diaphragm, cervical caps, and so forth. And it's important to note that spermicides do not provide protection against STIs like how they do against sperm. And according to the CDC, that frequent use of these spermicides that contain this nonoxynol 9, it actually irritates the tissues and it could increase the risk of HIV transmission if that person was coming into contact with that virus, because breaking down that tissue allows that virus to easily get inside. How How does the diaphragm work? Well, it is a dome-shaped device that is used with spermicide that covers the cervix. And some things to remember for exams about the diaphragm is that they must be provider fitted. They're not something that you can just go and buy over the counter. You actually have to go in and get fitted for it. In addition, they can be inserted before intercourse up to around 2 hours. However, after intercourse, they must be left in for at least 6 hours so they work, but no longer than 24 hours. Because once you start getting past that 24-hour mark, it can increase the risk of a condition called toxic shock syndrome. So let's talk about this syndrome for a moment. You want to educate the patient on how to recognize if they have developed this. So remember this mnemonic I created called TSS. T is for temperature increases. There's going to be this sudden fever, typically greater than 102 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is usually the first sign. The other S is sunburn type rash, which can present as a red rash located on the trunk, arms, face, legs, palms, and soles that will progress to peeling. And then our last S is systemic symptoms, where the whole body is going to be affected with vomiting, diarrhea, sore throat, and signs of shock. This is in really severe cases where you'll get hypotension, tachycardia, and difficulty breathing. Now, some other things that you want to know for exams about the diaphragm include repeated intercourse. So if this occurs, the diaphragm does not need to be removed, but more spermicide can be added without removing the diaphragm, or a condom can be used. Then you need to restart that 6-hour clock again. However, one important thing to point out with that is that that total wear time of that diaphragm cannot exceed that 24 hours. Plus, it's important to note that diaphragms, when used all by themselves, do not provide that STI protection. And after usage, it's important that the diaphragm is washed and air dried and inspected for any damage. Plus, want to make sure that that diaphragm is being replaced about every 2 to 5 years. And they must be refitted for the diaphragm if they've had a 10-pound weight change. This could be either they've lost weight or they've gained weight, or they've become pregnant, or they've had recent pelvic surgery. How does the cervical cap work? Well, it is a small silicone cap that covers the cervix, and it's used with spermicide. So what it'll do is it'll block sperm from entering the cervix, plus that spermicide will kill any sperm it comes into contact with. Now, what are some things that you want to remember for exams about this device? Well, this device I'm particularly talking about is known as the FEM cap. So with the FEM cap, it has to be provider fitted. It's not something that you can just go and buy over the counter. It can be inserted before intercourse up to about 4 to 6 hours. However, a big thing you want to remember is that after intercourse has occurred, that this device has to stay in for at least 6 hours to work properly. However, the total wear time cannot exceed 48 hours. If that happens, it increases the risk of a condition called toxic shock syndrome. Now, some other things you want to remember about this FEM cap device is about repeated intercourse. So according to the FEM cap's instructions, if multiple sex acts have occurred, there's no need to reapply more spermicide as long as it's occurred within that 42-hour window. However, more spermicide could be applied if the patient desires that. In addition, the FEM cap or the cervical cap does not provide any STI protection at all. If that's a concern, a condom should be used, which will provide more of a protection. And also, after usage, the cervical cap needs to be washed with a mild soap, air dried, and inspected for any cracks or holes. Now, in regards to replacing it or refitting, it's best to replace it yearly, and the patient needs to be refitted for the device if they've had a 10-pound weight change. This could either be a gain or a loss, or they've had a pregnancy or some type of cervical surgery. Plus, it's important to note to your patient if they've had a vaginal birth that the cervical cap may not be as effective as other methods of birth control. And the reason for this is because a vaginal birth can change the cervix, and it can change it in a way where this cap does not work like it should. It can't get a good seal around that cervix, which makes it more likely that sperm can get through. Okay, so that wraps up this review. Now, if you're taking maternity nursing and you need more resources to help you study, I have this book you can get in digital format at nursesarah.com or a paperback copy on amazon.com.